IP. Welcome, Shalini. How are you doing?
Hi Priggya, hi viewers. I'm doing fantastic. It's been a very busy Tuesday and the rest of the week is busy as well. But this little oasis of time where I can sit down and chat, I look forward to it.
Yeah, every Tuesday it's like a good chit chat session with me, I and Shalini, and we both enjoy each other's company, and I hope you all also enjoy our company.
How's your Tuesday, Priggya?
Very hectic. So even I was thinking the same before starting. Like you just mentioned, we had a very hectic Tuesday. Yeah, for lawyers, I think Monday and Tuesdays are the days.
Yeah. So what do we have on the table for today?
So today we have a very interesting topics, and which is in like the topic is in interest these days because of all the technology innovations happening, and we'll be discussing NFTs and trademarks. So like you and I discussed, we have been discussing NFTs and IP since a long time, but it's now time to go into specifics and take one IP at a time. So let's start with NFTs and trademarks, and we'll discuss other IP some other time. So yeah, opening remarks.
Opening remarks. It's the cool thing. It's what the cool kids are wearing these days. Donald Trump is doing it. Amitabh Bachchan is doing it. Lionel Messi has it. If you haven't guessed what I'm talking about, I am talking about NFTs.
Yeah.
NFTs full form is non-fungible tokens as opposed to something fungible. And in a bit, I'll give you a little bit of explanation on what is fungible and what's non-fungible. And non-fungible goes on a blockchain. I'll give you a very simplistic view of blockchain technology for the viewers, and we'll discuss some cases, interesting trademark cases that are happening.
Perfect.
So, Priggya, when I say NFT, what is it that crops up in your mind? What's the image that pops up?
So yeah, an artistic image stored in a blockchain which cannot be modified, and probably limited number of copies are available so that the ownership rights can be leveraged on.
Okay, that's a very complex definition. What's a blockchain for people who don't know?
So blockchain in simple language, like it's my way of explaining. We have all seen trains where one block is connected to other, and we cannot remove a block from middle of the train. Either way, so what happens is when data gets stored in this block, they're linked with addresses. So first address would be linked with another one, then that address would be linked with the third one. So data cannot be manipulated on the blockchain. Once it gets stored, it's there. And then we have stuff like proof
Perfect.
of concepts and all, which is the detailed part of it. But in simplistic language, we can say we cannot manipulate a data when it gets stored in a blockchain.
Perfectly explained. So for me, when I came across the term NFT, I had to go and see first what is FT.
Yeah.
So fungible token, for those who are listening and want to know, fungible token is something that can be exchanged for something else. For example, if I give you a 100 rupee note, you can give me 250 rupee notes. It stays the same, but they are now different things that you've given. I can give you 250 rupee notes and you can give me 10 rupee notes, and so on. So I don't get so there is a replacement for it. But something like the Mona Lisa, there is no replacement. It's one
Yeah.
of a kind. Right? So I would call the 100 rupee note as a fungible token. I would call the Mona Lisa as a non-fungible token. So something that is irreplaceable with no true equivalent. And many of the world's true assets, like a rare diamond or any other, excuse me, any other original masterpiece, They are valuable because they are non-fungible
Correct.
token. Real estate, for example, a plot of land would be non-fungible because there's no other piece of land exactly like it. So it's truly valuable. But today we are going to talk about NFTs and its concern in intellectual property. I'm going to go back to your train example, Priggya,
Yeah.
and talk about this, even break it down to make it even simpler. So let's start with a group of friends who are playing cards, but we none of us trust each other. And we want to make sure that everyone in this group is playing by the rules and nobody is cheating. So to do that, what we decide to do is to write down every move and the result in a piece of paper and pass it around. Pass it along to the next person in the group. Then each person adds their own move, their own notes to the paper, and when the game is over, we compare all the notes to make sure that no one is cheated. Now, if I take this idea into computer and apply it to computers, and instead of playing cards, we have to keep track of list of transactions
Correct.
and say a bank account, and we want to make sure that we know we don't trust any one person or organization to keep track of all the transactions. So we want to find a way to do it ourselves. And that's where we talk about blockchain. And
Correct.
blockchain, according to me, is a way of keeping track of transactions using a ledger, like the notes where we were taking down notes on the piece of paper, the card game, but this is a digital note taking, and that is distributed across many computers. And each transaction that happens is called a block of data, and when you have a chain of blocks, it's called a blockchain. And each block of data has next transaction written. So if I can write down that piece of paper and each move that was made by each player and they've written it down, that's a block of data. And when I have many such blocks, that's a blockchain. And I read about blockchain, I was very impressed because it immediately makes sure that none of the blocks can be changed or deleted without there being a
Correct.
record of that. It makes sure that every transaction is there for perpetuity. It's permanently there. It can be traced back to the origin of the transaction, and it makes it impervious to hacking or tampering.
Yeah. So these
So
are all
in that
benefits
sense,
of blockchain.
right, and it's also transparent. Anyone who is on that network can view that transaction. So when I have something like a non-fungible, something that does not have a replacement, so it is high in value, then I do want to make sure that I can trace its origin, I can trace its ownership, and I can view every single transaction that is done in respect of that token, in respect of that asset. And in the last few years, and feel free to jump in whenever you want. I know I'm hogging the stage.
That's right.
NFTs NFTs are used to represent art, digital art, music, videos, tweets, virtual real estate, wine. So the list is quite a laundry list, one of it, and it has exploded and made waves. And of course, there is technology, then the law, and all the issues with law, infringement, tampering, stealing, uh, trademarks, copyright, intellectual property issues start creeping in. So today we're going to talk about NFTs and trademark issues.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick recap of trademark, Priggya? Do you want to do that,
So,
or not
the
required?
I think I'll just state in a sentence or two so that people who have just joined know about something about trademarks. So trademarks is related to basically brand protection. If you see an image and you are able to locate that this is the source of the product, this is the origin of the product. It can be an image, it can be a word, it can be a music, it can be anything, anything that you feel. And then you think, okay, this product is coming from this source. For example, you see an Apple logo and you know that the product is from Apple. You see a tick mark and you know that that product is from Nike. So anything that relates to origin or the source of the product are trademarks. And when it comes to NFTs, you probably understand how trademarks may get infringed in form of NFTs, and what happens, and probably what measures we can think of if we see come something comes across in terms of NFTs and trademarks. So yes, Shalini, back to you.
There are a couple of businesses, more than a couple, that have trademarked their NFT business. The first one is CryptoKitties, which is trademarked its name and logo to prevent others from using something similar. There is a popular virtual world called Decentraland, which uses trademarks to protect its brand identity and trade dress as well, so preventing others from creating similar virtual worlds. And I think trade as the adoption and use of NFTs becomes more prevalent, trademarks are going to be an important tool for creators to protect intellectual property and to make a mark for themselves in this market. So we have some of the NFT. There are, of course, once there is technology and then there is law, there is bound to be some kind of dispute. One of the main disputes that we saw in the NFT world in trademark with respect to trademark was lazy ape versus bored ape. So bored ape is both of them. They they have offered digital images of apes with various expressions, and they have some 10,000 plus pictures of only apes with smiling and angry and surprised and whatnot. Uh, but bored ape was very similar to another well-known election called lazy ape, which then led to the debate whether bored ape infringes on the trademark of lazy ape. But there hasn't been any decision on that yet. So they have continued, Board Ape continues to coexist alongside Lazy Ape. Uh, there is another very interesting case which all the people who are aware of NFTs and all the people who are aware of intellectual property were following with great interest, which was the Hermes uh, trademark lawsuit against Meta Birkin. So Hermes has a very, very fancy and uber expensive bag called the Birkin bag. And I forgot the name of the guy. He was creating, his name was Mason Rothschild. And he was creating NFTs of these Birkin bags, of the images there, not the actual bags, and they were called Meta Birkins. And he was selling it um, on his Meta Birkin NFT collection.
Hmm.
So the deliberation went on for quite a long time, and of course, there's a copyright angle also to this, and we'll cover that in the next week's session or the upcoming week session. Um, the court held that Rothschild infringed on Hermes' trademark, the Birkin bag, and profited off Hermes' goodwill by producing NFTs because of Meta Birkin's design was based on those Birkin bags.
Hmm.
And the court decided that NFTs were not protected under the First Amendment of the US Constitution. There was a
Hmm.
constitutional angle also to this, but ultimately Hermes was awarded 133,000 US dollars in damages against those metal tokens.
Correct.
So there's a lesson here to learn for all of us.
Yeah. So I think all the cases which are involved with specifically NFTs and this space are huge. Like in terms of monetary value, it's huge. And the court, I think courts are also open to grant damages in terms of infringement of brands happening in the NFT space.
Yes, because I think the courts are getting more aware of these
Yeah.
things, because the NFTs also creep into daily lives, such as AR, VR, and
Correct.
games, reality games, and you metaverse. Of course, how can I forget that? So you cannot escape from the knowledge of NFT. I mean, there was a time when technology was far away and regular people were far away. They didn't want to interact with technology, but
Mhm.
this is not the age. Yeah, we are steeped into technology as much as technology is steeped into us.
Correct.
So, um, so the AR, VR, metaverse should be conversation for another day. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something we should pencil it in. But yes, so the fact is that the courts do take cognizance of this, because in the NFT world also there is the concept, all that we have with regular trademarks, goodwill and infringement and section 9 and section 11, all of that creeps into the NFT world as well, because we take the law along with us.
Correct.
Um, so Rothschild in this case actually seeing the goodwill in enemies, famous, it was a well-known mark for the Birkin bag, to create and sell his own, very, very capable of causing confusion among this consumer base.
Yeah.
Because if I'm looking at Birkin bags and then I'm looking at Meta Birkin, I will automatically think Hermes. I will not think Mason Rothschild.
Correct. And Shalini, I do think that like the tests we have for trademarks in terms of physical world, that is confusion in the mind of a consumer, the same tests are applicable in the NFT space also. If you are taking benefit of goodwill of a brand, that is going to be a trademark infringement irrespective of the fact it is happening in NFT space or a physical space.
Can you repeat that again? I lost you for a second.
So I said that because the test of trademark infringement is generally confusion in the mind of
Right.
consumer. If there is a
Absolutely.
confusion in mind of consumer in a physical space or a NFT space, it is a trademark infringement. The tests are not
Absolutely.
very different.
Correct. Correct. And they should not be, because you don't want one set of laws for the physical world and one set of laws for the digital world, when the boundaries between the physical world and the digital world are blurred to such an extent now.
Correct, correct, absolutely.
So the question in this case was whether the jury was trying to assess whether he intended to mislead the customers into believing that the Meta Birkin NFTs were associated with the famous Birkin bag trademark of Hermes, and whether the consumers, like you rightly said, whether the consumers would be confused or not. I think in this case there is no question of whether they would get confused or not. Birkin, Meta Birkins is a moot point. You would get confused.
Correct. So if I start making NFTs of a very famous brand, for example, Apple is not going to leave me.
Yeah. No, no Meta Apple
Correct.
and no Priggya Arora logo attached with the Apple.
Correct.
No.
Unless I'm using it in the same space of electronics, I can use it in
No,
the.
I don't think so. In this case, it was
They
not
are
in the same
trademarked
space.
in all the classes.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Shah Rukh Khan is
It's
trademarked in all the
well
classes.
known
Why not
brand.
Apple?
Yeah. So no intention
So,
of using Apple.
no, no, no. No, we are not infringing on any mark. We are here to discuss like good people, children. We are here to discuss uh, science and technology and innovation. So,
Absolutely.
uh, next time I think we should cover NFTs and copyright.
Perfect. So next week, so
Yes,
we'll
that's
take
another
one
juicy
item at
topic.
a time and discuss what is happening in this space.
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect. So I think that's all. We covered everything really well. And the crux is, if it is infringement, it is infringement in both the space. The test remains the same. If you are taking advantage of somebody's goodwill, that person is not going to leave you. So it's better to start with your own brands, own brand names, so that people recognize you by you.
Absolutely.
So that's all. And we'll see you again next Tuesday. Bye bye. Take care.
See you.